Hey guys, I just wanted to do my review of The Flash, Season 3, Episode 17, Duet. The long awaited, anticipated musical crossover with Supergirl, which opens up with Barry having memories of watching Singing in the Rain with his with his mom when he was 9, and saying everything's better in song, and opens up your heart and stuff about how it shows people who you really are, and it also flashes forward to present day where he's watching the same movie in Cisco's apartment, moping about is falling out with Iris until they get a call from HR about a breach opening in Star Labs, in which Mon-El and John show up with the comatose Supergirl explaining the situation. And not long afterwards, Music Meister shows up in the Speed Lab and confronts Flash and Kid Flash, and it turns out he overpowers both of them with the siphon power he got from Kara. So apparently his powers, he puts his victims into a comatose state, this dreamlike world, and then so he's able to siphon both Kara and then also Barry's powers once he puts into a coma, and they both wake up and he ends up waking up in the nightclub with Kara singing a cover of Moon River, and they're just trying to figure out what's going on, and they run into his name's like I think his name's Cutter. He's a nightclub owner and gangster who's like Malcolm Merlin's doppelganger in that world, and they also run into the doppelgangers of Winn and Cisco, and they decide that like Cutter Moran is what they call themselves, and they all have these like bad like 40s like New York accents, which I think they're just doing. I don't know if they're just doing this ironically, but then the Music Meister shows up saying that they have to follow the script of a movie musical, and says that he didn't come up with the dream world. That Barry and Kara came up with it because of their fondness for musicals, and so if they follow the script, they can get out of there. But if they die in the dream world, they die in real life. And then he puts on a number with Cisco, Winn, and Cutter for "Put a Little Love in Your Heart," which is like a great number. It acted like a really great number. The singing in this was like fantastic, albeit Grant Gustin. I mean, it was good, just not great. I mean, if you watch seen Glee or watch any YouTube videos with him singing on Glee, like especially covers from like Smooth Criminal, like he can really hit higher notes, but maybe like the songs he was singing didn't require that. I wasn't too crazy about the cheesiest song they had, which was my least favorite, was from Rachel Bloom, which was Super Friends, and it just like full of puns and whatnot. And I've seen Rachel Bloom's videos online, and I don't know. They're funny. I mean, they're usually they're kind of like funny and just weird, and I don't know. They're not like this cheesy, but that's the one song that didn't work for me. But basically, they end up getting captured by these two gangsters who turn out to be whose name's like I think Diggsy Floss, who's actually Joe's doppelganger in this world, and they have to go find his daughter Millie, who of course turned out to be Iris. So they go to they're led to this apartment, and they bust down the door when they hear her on the other side, and Millie's making out with Mon-El's doppelganger in this world, who is known as Tommy Moran, and Cutter's son. And they're saying like, oh, there's not supposed to be their love. It's like a forbidden relationship, and it was just painful. I mean, they can tell that they were in like shock and disgust about Barry and Kara having their respective lovers being together, and they were talking, and they said that they're not telling their fathers because they would go to war with one another. But they said that you have to take love with the good and the bad, and then so they go tell their respective fathers. And this is the thing, is like it didn't really take much convincing for them to like go for Millie and Tommy to go along with the idea. And the same thing for when they talked to Wynn's doppelganger about, hey, do you have an original piece that we can put on? And he says, yeah, I have just the thing. And even Barry just notes, like, oh wow, things are so much easier in musicals. So they kind of like, there's a little bit like meta humor there about how like, and it's very it's just like any musical, everything like very heightened, and just talking about how like, how easily the plot progresses, and Barry notices how it turns out that Diggsy and Stein's doppelganger are basically Millie's two gay dads, and he's like kind of shocked by this because it's like 40s musical setting, and they both say simultaneously, "Do you have a problem with that?" And he's like, "No, I like musicals." So, and after this awkward pause, Millie tells her dad's the truth. Tommy tells Cutter the truth about their relationship, and all the dads, they do jump cuts between Cutter and Diggsy and Stein, doing more than I can. I think it was More Than I Can Wish For from Guys and Dolls, and then afterwards when they think they're and then during both and before those numbers, Barry says that Millie is a strong, independent, beautiful woman. Something that he should have said to Iris in Dead or Alive, instead of just saying, "Oh, your mother left behind a smart, independent, brave son and the woman I love." You should have just said an equally independent, brave, smart woman, something like that. But anyway, and then Kara comes to the realization, is like talking to Cutter, saying, "Oh, the reason why Tommy didn't tell you, just by the way you're reacting, if you put yourself in his shoes, you understand why he didn't tell you, why he lied to you this whole time." And she's talking, she kind of has this realization that, oh my God, I was doing the same thing with Mon-El. And even though you think there was like reconciliation between the dads and their kids, it turns out they end up going to war, and let's do a shootout outside the club. Like after the Barry and Carr perform Super Friends, and they just decided to run out into the middle of the firefight and just yell stop, and they both get shot. And meanwhile in the real world, the Music Meister's like robbing a bank, and he decides to, and so John reveals himself as Martian Manhunter, and he teams up with Vibe and Kid Flash to confront Music Meister, and he and Kid Flash are like running around the city, and then when Music Meister flies off, Cisco's able to use his powers to Vibe Martian Manhunter through a breach to knock Music Meister out of the air, and then Kid Flash comes in running and knocks Music Meister unconscious, and they lock him in the pipeline, where he just tells Mon-El and Iris that only he doesn't have the power to wake them up, that only they have the power to wake them up, and they had to figure it out on their own. And when they're like flatlining, Cisco vibes Mon-El and Iris into the dream world, and it's kind of cheesy, but I guess it makes sense. It's True Love's first kiss is what kind of wakes them up. They basically kissing them, I guess, in the dream world, and it cuts to them both couples kissing while they're back in Star Labs, and it wakes them up, and you just find out that Music Meister is a trickster. They don't really specify what he is. I mean, he seems to be like an interdimensional being, maybe something from like the fifth dimension, kind of like Mr. Spitalik, but again, it's just like he just says like, "Oh, you wouldn't understand where I came from," and he just like, "Oh, I just want to teach you a lesson about the importance of love," and that's why he just did all that, and then he just abruptly leaves. And so Kara and Mon-El and John, they go back to Earth 38, and Barry puts on a performance of a song written by the writers of City of Stars from La La Land, coming home to you, and proposes to Iris again. She says yes, and you might think it's like, oh, what's the big deal? Why is she so surprised? But it just feels like it's so like beautiful. I mean, it may be over the top. It's like that. It's such a beautiful scene that it's like I just didn't really care. But I guess my only gripes with this were that, yeah, it was good, just not great. I mean, I don't know. It just felt like very like anticlimactic with the fact that it's just like, oh, they were trying to follow the script, and then all of a sudden, Barry and Kara wake up all of a sudden, and the Music Meister takes off, and Music Meister, his characterization was like weird. Like you don't know like what his like understand like what are this guy's motives, and like why is he just doing what he's doing. I mean, you guess what he's doing, but it's just sort of like, okay, but why is he like robbing? But it's sort of like, like I said, they don't explain where he came from, like how much, or specifically how he knows so much about these characters, and why he was like robbing the bank and stealing their powers to begin with. It was just less weird, and I don't know. And there wasn't as much singing as you would expect in this episode, which I guess it was just trying to. I guess like the writers were afraid of making it like too over the top and like alienating viewers who were kind of like who weren't really on board with this whole idea, but which is fine, which is understandable. Of course, it didn't give an in context explanation for why Merlin was there, other than the fact that John Barrowman just said he just wanted to be in it, and the producer said yes. But I don't know. Overall, it was good. I don't know if it quite lived up to the hype, but I don't know. I didn't hate this. Like I said, I thought it was good. It just left a lot to be desired. I just thought it would have been cool that, I don't know, if they were able to do something like in this whole alternate world scenarios, like Barry and Kara were dumping into like different genres, like the 50s or the 60s, or I just wanted them to have an excuse just to like have the whole cast like dancing and singing to Footloose or something, or like Can't Stop the Feeling, like some kind of song that was like match the energy of the show. You know what I mean? Just like throwing that into the mix instead of just like just like musicals from like early to mid like 20th century, which is like, I'm not against that. I'm just saying just to mix it up a bit. So I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5. I don't think it's one of the best episodes of The Flash, but it was enjoyable and it exceeded my expectations. Granted, they were very low, but it was just not as it was fun. It wasn't bad at all. It wasn't like a terrible episode like I thought it would be. So, what do you guys think of the musical episode? Did you exceed your expectations? Did you feel like it was just weird? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. And I will have my Legends of Tomorrow video up later tonight or sometime tomorrow. So take care, as well as my Arrow review. So take care, guys.